Hi there. Thank you for coming to the 10th annual Lake County Film Festival. This is the Q&A for the Fourth Wall Shorts program. Unfortunately, we have one filmmaker here only today, and that is Greg Pope from There's Something in the Lake. Greg, how's it going?
Hey, doing good. How are you doing, Nat?
Pretty good, pretty good. For those watching much later, it was just announced that Joe Biden was elected president. So it's been a pretty quiet, pretty quiet day on the festival today. So yes, we were just talking the Fourth Wall Shorts program, all about fourth wall breaking devices. Are you a fan of that device to begin with?
I mean, not necessarily. I think I think it can be done effectively sometimes. Honestly, with my film, it was just a matter of I kind of had this basic story idea of kids versus monsters, which we've seen a lot of that over the past decade. And once I kind of had the short written, I was kind of looking for ways to play around with it, and came up with that idea of sort of a choose your own adventure movie, which and so immediately I was like, does this exist out there? Are there choose your own adventure movies? There's choose your own adventure comics and books, and that was just kind of one of the iterations I did of the script, where I tried to take it in a different direction, and I kind of liked it. So a movie within a movie. That's kind of how the idea came to me, anyway.
It's got a great classic creep show, Tales from the Crypt twist ending. But you're so much quicker and snappier and have more, more twists in there. Is that an influence? Do you love those old classic horror shorts?
Yeah, I grew up watching all those old monster movies, the Universal monster movies from the 50s and earlier stuff, James Whale's Frankenstein and The Invisible Man and Creature from the Black Lagoon, probably my favorite, all the old Godzilla movies. And yeah, so they're definitely an influence. And also just, I feel like monster movies in general now are typically skew much older. What's interesting to me about those old movies is you'll have horror directors now calling out those movies as influences, but all those movies were really made for kids, and it's interesting to talk to people who were around when something like The Wolfman came out in the theaters. And and I talked to my parents about this, and I said, were those made for teens, or were they made for young adults? He said, no, they're kids movies. They're all kids movies. And I feel like the only choices kids really have today is things along that line, is like Goosebumps or something kind of campy, and it's sort of very self-aware, maybe not. And those older movies, what's fun to me about them is they all take themselves super seriously, even though sometimes the content seems a little hokey, to us now. So yeah, I was influenced by all that stuff, and of course Hitchcock and John Ford and a lot of older directors, and then a lot of directors from the 70s. So
My son loves horror stuff, and actually this is on the top of the list of the festival stuff to show him. I just have not gotten a chance yet. I'm sure he's gonna love it. But it's really interesting because it's interesting that you say they were made for kids then, because I feel like they don't have as much of my kid, who I feel like has a good attention span, is not really that interested. We did watch Frankenstein last Halloween. He's 8. He's about to be 9.
Okay.
And we did watch Frankenstein last year, but it's really been really hard to get him to watch some of the other ones. Whereas he loves Goosebumps, but he's very obsessed with watching the ones that are above, his age limit.
And we were the same. I was exactly the same way, but that was about the age that I first kind of was exposed to those old monster movies, when I was 7 or 8, and I was already into like comics and things, and it just struck a chord with me. Kids have so many other distractions, now, especially with gaming taking off the way it is, and I feel like there's so much more content directed at kids than when I was coming along. But again, it just seems also overly kid friendly. That I feel like there's a little bit, and kids love creepy stuff. I mean, the Harry Potter series is a perfect example of that. It's just a great story at a time when kids, when I was in publishing at the time, when Harry Potter broke and everybody said YA fiction was over, like young adult fiction is over, kids play video games, and then you had kids lining up, the night before to read a story. So, I feel like we could use a little more of that. I think, I loved Stranger Things when it came out, but of course
it's about what it just what I was about to say.
I mean, it skews older though.
Is his favorite.
I love it, but I don't feel like I can sit down with like my 5 or 6 year old and watch something like that. Whereas Creature from the Black Lagoon, there's nothing there that's gonna, give them nightmares. And it depends on the kid, of course. But anyway,
he watched it when he was 8, about 6 months ago, and after much cajoling, we let my daughter, who's 7, watch it, and so my son has seen it 3 times in the past. 6, all 3 seasons, 3 times in the past 6-7 months, maybe. Once with me, once with his grandmother, and once with me and me and my daughter. They are pretty Stranger Things obsessed. I only had to use the fast forward a couple times.
Yeah, I think that's wise, actually. I mean, I find myself doing that when my kids want to watch something older. I'm like, well, there's some stuff you can see, and then there's some stuff that we'll probably just skip real quick. It's not crucial that you can see it when you're older. You can see it all. That's what I tell my kids. Like, you can see it all, just not right now. Like, I don't want you coming down in the middle of the night, terrified and all that.
Well, I actually just fast forward the like sex stuff,
Yes, right.
They censor the other stuff themselves by throwing a blanket over their head,
right,
screaming as loud as they can, and so they're not really seeing much. And it's brief, it's good. I don't know.
Yeah.
So actually, about the movie, I love just chatting about film with people who love it and entertainment. But can you talk at all about your cinematography, because it is so sharp? It is so. I mean, it's so cool. I don't know what to say, man. It's
wow.
The in-game scenes just look otherworldly in their clarity. I don't know. It's so cool.
Wow. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. It's interesting to see how technically, independent film has just grown leaps and bounds over just the last decade. And I always feel, we were at the Atlanta Shorts Fest and just so impressed by so much of the technical aspects and the craft of so many of the films. And this festival is exactly the same. I feel like those tools are just more available. But, I work with the same cinematographer who is also a friend, and we do a lot of commercial projects together. I've been a, freelance filmmaker for 12 years, and we've worked together on a lot of stuff. That in particular short, we knew we were going to shoot in low light, and we shot with some Sony cameras that are really well known for their low light capabilities. We shot with Zeiss glass. That's another thing. Just great lenses is another sort of key there. In particular, the Zeiss 85 millimeter is what we shot a lot of the head and shoulder shots, like kind of what we see here with, and I was just kind of blown away by how beautiful it looked. But other than that, I think it's just the light. I mean, we shot early in the morning before the sun came up, and right at that magic hour. We never shot during the hard sunny days, and we were kind of freezing out there, and putting kids in a boat with a canoe with lav mics and stuff, and hoping that it didn't all tip over and go into the water. But I think that's probably the Sony cameras are really great as far as the clarity thing that you mentioned. It looks
otherworldly. I mean, I don't know if it's just the fog or what. Really,
the fog was interesting. We were out at a friend of ours happened to have a bunch of acreage with a pond on it. I was looking for something on private property. There are a lot of public parks around here with ponds, but that was sort of one of the things we had to have, was a pond on someone's property where we could sort of do what we wanted without, anybody interfering. And the fog was there every morning. It would be there for, a couple of hours and then it would go away. So then when we shot the stuff at Magic Hour, there was no fog, and I added that fog in some of those shots with After Effects. But yeah, that was just the location. I mean, I looked at it on the monitor. The opening shot, actually, of the film is the very first thing we shot, and I saw it on the monitor, and we were both kind of like, "Wow, it looks really good." We didn't do a whole lot to that shot. It just, we were there at the right time and had good light, and just the movie gods kind of smiled on us for that one.
Yeah, I really liked it. It's really insane what's going on with independent film right now. Everything can really excel in some way. I think your cinematography and your storyline is great and interesting, but something like we mentioned, The Whole Truth, their production design is
fantastic
and amazing, and
great music too.
So many. I mean, I've probably seen 1,000 films this year, including maybe 500 or 600 independent short films, and they never cease to amaze me.
Yes, yeah, it's impressive, and it raises the bar. It makes everybody feel like they've got to up their game, which I think is good for the whole independent film world. Everybody feeling like they've got to. You have to. There's not too many excuses now for because everything's gotten so much cheaper. Used to get the look that you see in these films, you literally have to shoot film like 16 millimeter or 35, and it's just that's so much more expensive and a lot more variables in terms of color and what you get from a lab and what's in the water. All kinds of factors influence that. And now we have all this control, and it's so much cheaper. So
it's but still quite time consuming, I imagine.
Yeah, for sure. We shot. Let's see. We shot 2 days on that lake location, and then a half day to get the bedroom brother and sister interaction stuff. So, and then post. I mean, I don't know. I was sort of juggling that along with all my other work projects, but it takes some time to get it where you want it at least. So.
Yeah, when you do things you love, it can be hard to calculate the time spent.
I know. You're right.
Asked me, how much time I spent working on this festival, and I
can't imagine. My hat is off to you.
I do it all. I just do it. I mean, kids are doing something for 10 minutes. Come watch something. Organize something. I'm not paying. I have no idea how long it's been. You know. What's next for the film?
Well, we have submitted to a few other festivals. There's one kind of big festival that we've gotten in, but I can't talk about it yet. I mean, it's not necessarily, it's just kind of the right audience that I was hoping for, but they kind of had to cancel all their stuff last year. So we'll be in there summer 2021. This film is actually just a piece of a feature that I'm trying to put together, and so we're sort of in pre-production on that and hoping to shoot it this spring. The feature is much more of the basic kids versus monster idea. It doesn't have the movie within a movie plot device, but we're hoping to sort of generate some interest in the feature just with the short, being at festivals and being able to talk about it and stuff. So.
This isn't going to be like potentially a part of the feature where I mean, I'm just thinking it's a good idea. A lot of times films use instead of a normal info dump, like Stranger Things, really.
Yeah.
They'll use the info dump of the D&D game to educate you on the rules of the universe. And
great.
This would be great to have the game within the movie, influence, educate, whatever you want to call it,
right?
Inform the audience about what is happening in real life.
Yeah, and I've played with so many different ideas, and it's challenging with an idea like that in particular to keep it going over the long. Haul over the longer storyline. It's great for a short because it only happens a few times. But but in a feature, you know, and then the other thing is budget. You know, we're trying to shoot for very, very little money, so we have some constraints there, and trying to keep everything small, but still tell a good story. So those are kind of the challenges that we're facing there.
You know, it wasn't on my radar, but yeah, I mean, talking about kids and horror is not even. I was so focused on sort of how it looks and the fourth wall breaking and everything else, but man, kids versus monsters is a pretty great genre. Now you have me all excited for something.
Yeah.
Horror mixed with the comedy, you know, and not too
Right.
gory. That's the problem too. I have is you know, things being too gory. You know.
Oh yes, yes, yeah, and again, just, you know, that's kind of where horror is, as far as, or monster movies, I should say, because I feel like they're a little different, but they all kind of skew older, you know. And then, like I said, I feel like the stuff that is made for kids is just a little too Disney, for lack of a better term. I love Disney, but it's just a little campy and self-aware and hokey sometimes, you know, purposefully that way. Whereas you know, I think kids appreciate just a good creepy tale. It's a little bit like a roller coaster. You know, you get off the roller coaster and either it sucked, or it made you feel sick, or you loved it and you're like, let's do that again. You know, and that's kind of what you're going for, I think, with one of these films. And I don't know, it's a little bit of trial and error. I'm trying to hopefully getting better at it as I go along here. So,
Well, I mean, I think it's great. You know.
thank you, appreciate it.
Cool. Well, we will keep an eye out. Thanks for a great conversation.
Absolutely.
Enjoy the rest of the weekend. Thanks everyone for tuning in.
Okay. Thanks, Nate.
Thanks. See you later.